I'm Arfa Akhlaq and welcome to Fried and Tasted. All the recipes here are tried and tested. So today I'll start with a disclaimer. I have personally never attended a cooking or baking class ever in my life. So my workflow might be totally different from what a cake artist does. But what I personally believe that if the end result tastes good and it looks good, then it serves the purpose. So all those who always wanted to bake and beautifully decorate a cake, this is a great opportunity for you to learn step by step and gradual process of how to start from basic and end up making a fully decorated cake with flowers and writing on it. You can see the detail about this series at the end of the video. I mean how it is broken down into parts. And I personally believe that there are two things that are most important. First is the passion and second is the patience. So if you have these two things, you can end up making a very nice cake. Today is the first part of the series and we'll start with a basic sponge cake. A classic sponge cake does not need a baking powder, like any baking powder or baking soda in it. But with time it has evolved into different recipes which actually calls for baking powder. But I found this recipe almost like 2 years before, and since then I've been using this and I don't feel any need to change this recipe. And no, I don't have any eggless option for it because the only rising agent I'm using here is egg whites. So there are a few things that you need to keep in mind for baking this cake. First, you need to whip the egg whites properly. And you definitely need a hand mixer for it or any electronic whisk, because it's not possible to whisk egg white like this till hard peaks with your hands, because otherwise you might have to replace your hand, and I don't think so it's worth the effort. So you need to whip the egg whites properly, and then when you fold it into the batter at the end, you need to be very gentle so that you do not deflate the batter. Okay, so there are a few things that you need to keep in mind. Another thing is this, that the baking time varies with oven. Different type of oven works differently. So you need to keep an eye on it properly. You need to use your judgment a little bit and set the temperature and time accordingly. Third thing that I want to tell you is this, that the baking time might differ with the size of your cake pan. So if you are putting the same amount of batter into a 6-inch cake pan, so the height will be somewhere around this much. For this, the baking time might be different. And if you are putting the same batter into a bigger pan, then the height will be a little less, and of course the baking time will be reduced. Now let's start the video, but before that, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to tell you to like this video and comment below how you feel about this series and this video. And also subscribe to my channel and share it with all the baking enthusiasts. And when you subscribe, don't forget to press the bell icon so that you are notified whenever I upload the second part of this series. So let's get into the ingredients now. So I'll roughly go through the ingredients now. The exact measurements are in the description below. So for a basic sponge cake, here I have taken 4 eggs and have separated the egg yolks in one bowl and egg whites in another. Then I have vinegar. I'll be using very little bit of vinegar too. Some vanilla essence, a pinch of salt and an equal amount of flour and white sugar, along with some oil and milk. So that is all we need for a basic sponge cake. I also want to say that when I said that equal amount of flour and sugar, it means that it is equal amount in weight and not in cups. In cups, I'm taking almost half of the sugar because of the difference in density. Like 1 cup of flour, the weight wise it is almost 120 grams, but half cup of sugar is almost 120 grams in weight.
For baking, always do the preparation beforehand itself. So I have preheated my oven at 320 Fahrenheit or 160 Celsius, and here I'm greasing my 6-inch cake pan with some oil. Here is a parchment paper, its side is somewhere around 6 inch, a little bit more, and I'm folding it into some folds. I folded one and then folded it again, and then again I'm folding it, and then once more, and I'll place it on top of my cake pan in such a way that it's somewhere in the center. This way I'll roughly calculate the radius, and then with the help of a scissor I'll simply cut the extra portion like this. And now you can see that if I place it right in the center of my pan, it fits perfectly. And this is like an easy way to line your cake pan like this. Now let's jump into the ingredients. In a sifter, I have taken some all-purpose flour along with little bit salt. As I said before, no baking powder, no baking soda, and just sift it and keep it aside. Next, we'll take some wet ingredients. So for that, in a glass or a cup, I have taken some milk along with oil and vanilla extract. Give it a nice mix and keep this aside as well. Now it's the time to whip the egg whites. Like I mentioned many times before in my previous videos, the whisk and the bowl should be completely dry. After the soft peaks are formed, I'm adding some vinegar along with half of the sugar and whip it again until hard peaks are formed. It took me around 2 minutes with this hand mixer, and soon after that we can see that the mix becomes quite stiff. You can see the peaks here. Like if I move it around, it does not fall. So our egg whites are done. Time to beat the egg yolks now. So in a big bowl here, I have taken egg yolk along with the remaining sugar and then whisk it until it's really light and pale. So you can see right now it's very yellowish and very thick, and now you can see that the mixture has become very light, pale and airy. This will take around 3 to 4 minutes. Now it's the time to add the sifted flour in it. So I will add it in 3 portions. So first, here goes the first third of the flour. Fold it gently on low speed. And then goes the second part. Again, fold it gently on low speed. You can also do this with a regular spatula. And finally, here goes the third part, and again fold it gently. You can see that the batter is really thick right now. So finally, we are adding this wet ingredient. Give it a mix before adding. You remember the oil, milk and vanilla extract. Add it into the batter and then again fold it gently, combine everything. You can see that the batter has already become loose. And finally, I'm adding egg whites in it. Somehow this part of the video did not record, so here I have an extract from a previous video of mine. I'm adding it in batches, so I have taken a small amount of egg white and folding it into the mixture with the help of a spatula or on a low speed with a hand mixer. And then add the remaining egg whites, and this is how the final batter looks like. It is very light and airy, and this goes into the greased pan now. Just scrape the side of the bowl before putting it into the pan so that we get all the batter. So now the baking time varies with what is the height of the cake. If we are using the same amount of batter in a 6-inch cake pan with a higher height, the time should be around 35 minutes. But if you're using it in a bigger pan which has a lesser height, I mean the same amount of batter, the baking time will be somewhere around 20 minutes. In 35 minutes, my cake is ready, and now I'll insert a skewer. If it comes out clean, it means it is well baked. If you have not achieved the right golden color, you can increase the temperature at the end and then bake it for 2 to 3 minutes more. Just increase it by 10 to 20 Fahrenheit, not more than that. Now I will run an offset spatula around it to release the edges, and then I'll flip it on a cooling rack and let it cool for around 30 minutes. And now you can see that the cake will release very easily because I have run a spatula and it has been greased very nicely. I'll simply remove the parchment paper, and like I said, I'll let it cool down for half an hour. And this is how it looks like after half an hour. The top dome has become flat, and whatever little bit crust is left, we will cut it like this, and this way our sponge cake will be completely ready to be frosted. This cake decoration series has 4 parts. The first one is how to prepare the sponge cake. The second one is all about frosting, how to make the best frosting ever. The third part is how to cut the layers smoothly, how to stack them and then do the crumb coating, and finally frost it evenly like this with smooth sides and sharp edges. And finally, the fourth part is how to make beautiful, gorgeous flowers with just 3 tips, and also how to write on a cake. So if you like what you watched, press the subscribe button and also press the bell icon so that you are notified whenever I upload a new video. Also like this video and comment if you are excited about this series, and also share it with your friends and family and whoever enjoys baking.